Hello guys, welcome to Tariq's class. You know about Pythagorean theorem, right? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. But I'm saying there are actually three Pythagorean theorems that you should know about. Now let's take a look at this question. There's a right triangle here. The two legs are a, b, and the hypotenuse is c. The question is asking, if a plus b is equal to 10 and a times b is equal to 20, then what is c, the hypotenuse? Can you solve this question using your traditional Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared? No, you can't. If you want to learn how to solve these questions and the three Pythagorean theorems today, watch the full video, guys. Okay, number one. The first Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. That's the traditional basic Pythagorean theorem. Majority of the people know about it. Now let's take a look at this triangle. So in a right triangle, one of the legs is called A, another one is B, and the line that is across from 90 degrees here, that's called hypotenuse, and we're going to name it C. Very simple. The three sides of the triangles, we're going to name it A, B, and C. So now let's see how to use this traditional Pythagorean theorem first. So let's say we have a right triangle which has three lengths. One is 3, another side is 4, and the third side is missing. Let's say x. And we need to solve for this third side. So what we can do is, we can use this formula. We know that our A is 4, B is what? 3, and C is x. So we can just plug in these values into the formula. So we can say, okay, A is 4, so 4 power 2, plus 3, B is 3, so 3 power 2 is equal to, C is x, so x power 2. Now all we have to do is solve for x. So 4 squared is 16 plus 3 squared is 9 is equal to x power 2. 16 plus 9 is 25 equal to x power 2. Now the last steps to solve any Pythagorean theorem would be just square root, because we have a power 2. The inverse operation would be square root. Square root is the thing, a line you draw on the top of the number. So you see x squared and 25, I square root both sides. So square root of 25 is 5 and square root of x squared is x. So x is equal to 5. So we know that this missing value is 5. That's how we deal with the number one traditional Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equal to c squared. Theorem number 2. This is also a Pythagorean theorem. A plus b, the whole thing square, minus 2 times ab is equal to c squared. AB and c are just the same letters from the triangle AB, the two legs, and the hypotenuse c. So this Pythagorean theorem is exact same one as the one we learned before. A squared plus b squared equal to c squared. Let's test it out with the same question. Let's say we have a right triangle. The two legs are 3 and 4 and the hypotenuse is missing, x. So now let's try this formula to solve this. We know that a is 4 and b is 3 and c is x. So we're going to plug it into this formula. So it says a plus b power 2. So that's 4 plus 3 power 2. Right? Then we have a minus 2 times, what do we have, guys? A, B. And A is what? 4 and B is 3. 4 times the 3 is equal to, the C is x. So you're just going to put x squared. Now 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 power 2 is 49. Now here 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. You just subtract it. Now we get 49 minus 24 is 25. Equal to x squared. Now square root, so x is equal to 5. We get the same answer. Now you might ask me that why should we know this big formula when we could just use a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Now this formula is not for these kind of questions. Not for these questions. So what kind of questions you have to solve with these formula like this one? Okay, so we're going to try with the question that we had in the beginning of the video. So the question was the three sides of this triangle ABC, and if a plus b is 10 and AB is 20, then what is C? Now when they gave you the sum of two sides, like the two legs A and B, and then they gave you the product of A and B, then we cannot use our traditional basic Pythagorean theorem. So we have to use the Pythagorean theorem number 2, which is a plus b, the whole thing squared, minus 2ab equal to c squared. So let's write the theorem again. A plus b whole thing squared minus 2ab equal to c squared. All we have to do is just plug in. So it says what? A plus b is equal to 10. So we're going to just plug it in here. So a plus b is 10 power 2 minus 2 times, what is AB, guys? AB is 20. So AB is 20, put it here. Now C is, that's what we're looking for. So let's keep it as it is. Now 10 square is 100 minus 2 times 20 is 40 is equal to C power 2. Now 100 minus 40 is 60 equal to C power 2. The last step, I always said it, you have to do what? Square root always. So C is equal to square root of 60. Now what is square root of 60? We cannot calculate it without the calculator. Yes, you can simplify it, but that's it. You can leave it like that. That's your answer. Because we don't know what square root of 60 is without the calculator, so you can leave it like that. For SHSAT, we'll most likely leave it like that and maybe simplify that I'll explain in another video. But in this case, you can just leave it like that. So that's how we use the Pythagorean theorem number 2. Number 3. So this Pythagorean theorem is particularly used for rectangular prisms or cube. Now, we know that on this rectangular prism, we can see there's a length, width, and height. Now, if the question asks, now what is the length of the diagonal of this rectangle? The diagonal means the line, the longest line of this rectangular prism. Now, let me give you an example. I still didn't write the theorem. We're going to write it. But before that, let me give you the question. So the length of this rectangle is, let's say, 3, and the width is 4, and the height is 5. And the question is asking, what is the diagonal, the longest length of this rectangle? So how do we find it? That's when we're going to use our third Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared, guess what? Plus c squared is equal to d squared. This is the theorem we're going to use for the rectangular prism or cubes. Now, a, b, c are just the length, width, and height. Let's say a is 3, the length, width is 4, which is width, and then height 5. So we can just plug it in. So okay, I said a is, let's say, length. So 3 power 2 plus 4 power 2 plus 5 power 2 is equal to d. Then what is d? D stands for the diagonal, the longest length of the rectangle. Here it is x, we still don't know what it is, so we'll say x power 2. All I did is plugged in into the formula. Now let's solve it. So 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, plus 5 squared is 25, so we get that is equal to x squared. Now 9 plus 16 is 25, and 25 plus 25 is 50 is equal to x squared. Now how do we solve for x here? You remember the last step? We square root. So x is equal to square root of 50 is something we don't know, so we leave it as it is. As I said, we could simplify it, but now this lecture is not about that. So you see, so if you want to find the diagonal of this rectangular prism would be square root of 50.